Right, the pool seems to be filling up, so that's good, so we can get some more action. King 10 is just gonna mainly be a call. You could also mix in some 3-bets here, definitely fine. Now we do get a call. Again, King Jack offsuit, probably always 3-bet. Let's also squeeze this one just to have a squeeze pot here. Very often the small blind will just be dead money, so even though in theory it's probably King Jack plus and maybe King 10 or King 10 off at a low frequency, I'd recommend you to squeeze more in spots like this one where, you know, the button should forward you a lot, but probably doesn't, and the small blind very often is just going to be dead money. Bit of a loose open, but I think it's fine. On the right hand side we flop an open ender, we see a snap check behind, and we turn the nuts. Now the question is, which line makes more money, going for large overbet or going for a check raise? Given how quickly check back, I think the best way is just going for a large bet and hope he has something to call us with. Let's go for an overbet here, and we see just a snap fold. Unfortunate. But we basically hope he checked back, queens, a7, that with the plan of calling the turn. Let's 3-bet a suited connected just to play a couple more hands and see bet the 9 small here on this board. You could also check back, but I think at lower stakes where people don't really check back, it's still fine to see bet these dry ace-high boards a lot, especially with pocket pairs, 7s, 8s, 9s that need a decent amount of protection.
Hello everyone, ValueHeavy Peter here with a quick announcement. At the end of August, we'll be bringing back the group coaching sessions led by our very own Roofy. If you're looking to take your poker game to the next level, this is your chance. We'll be giving you 5 in-depth sessions mastering 3-out pots, handling both pre-flop raiser, pre-flop caller, out of position and in position. The last session will be an extended Q&A and hand review with both of us. All of this together for only 99 euros, so a really good bargain. If you want to join, make sure to check out Discord. Also, right now we're doing a giveaway on our Discord. If you want to join, again, check out the Discord. We're giving away 1 free spot in the group coaching sessions with Roofy. All right, that's all. Back to the video.
So if this guy in the big blind or a bit deeper, recreational with the deeper stack, I think flat calling would be fine. And otherwise, I think with the rake, we probably just want to fold. 7-6, I mean, doesn't lose much in theory anyway, and if people are over 40, not 3-betting enough, definitely an open. And I'm going to start with a small c-bet on a really good board for me, getting min raised, we're just out of there. We don't even have, if we had a backdoor flush, we could consider floating, but I think with 2 undercards to the second pair, we just have a fold. Ace 8, we can mix between 3-bet or calling, but obviously if we get 3-bet, it's just, before us, it's just a fold. Ace 9, I will isolate against the fish. And start with a small c-bet here. And against the min raise, we just fold. See, playable hand, ace 10 suited, I will 3-bet against the button open. And in theory should be calling a 4-bet, but maybe in practice at the 10 and L it's better to just fold facing the 4-bet. Interesting that we see a 3x open, I'm not sure if that's the standard sizing. This guy seems to be somewhat decent from the sample size. It opens 2.5x on the cutoff, so 3x on the button, that's interesting. Alright, not too many interesting hands for now, so hopefully we get some more interesting spots. King 4, as I said, people being that passive are definitely open from the small blind. That's what we will do. tanking here the pre-flop decisions. Jack 4-3, we can go for a small cbet or for a check. I think with a 4, you know, 5x 6s, those hands I would cbet here very often against. We're just trying to get protection, expecting to not get floated and raised enough, and the plan on the turn is now to go into check call mode. Although I don't hate actually going for another small bet again, dominating 4x. Maybe a hand like 5s and 6s makes for a bit of a better bet down the turn, you know, where we unblock the 4 and the 3x that can call us here. But, you know, block betting again a hand like maybe ace 4 with his redraw, I'd also like a bit better. The 9-4 suited blind I think is just about calling. And then the king 4 obviously check calling on the turn. Really nice river. And good board for me on the right hand, so we'll start with a half pot bet. You could also check back your flush draw sometimes. But in situations where I'm not too sure, I prefer to take the aggressive route. And gonna barrel this on the turn. Putting a lot of pressure on his ace-6 hands. And he checks back ace-8, gave up. So a hand that probably shouldn't bluff on the turn. We get another call, and I think in theory we should be giving this one up. And probably in practice as well, there's a lot of perceived bluffs in our range. And this is probably one of those that we can simply give up here, having 2 hearts in our hand, you know, blocking a lot of his folding range, that's fine. And we can probably bluff other hands. He does have ace-8, which is probably a hand that does call most of the time. Facing another bet unless we go for a really huge sizing here. We have a lot of, you know, ace-4 is 5, 5-4, 5-6, maybe some 10-9, jack-9, 6-5, a lot of perceived bluffs in our range. And here it's a limp pot, we stepped on the turn for half pot. We got called by both players. I think they would have raised a lot. They could definitely have a flush themselves. Yeah, I think we just want to go something close to pot here. I think overbetting multiway would be a bit too thin. With a weak flush on a paired board, multiway. And we get caught by a weaker flush. Didn't think it was possible, but apparently it is. So against this hand, we could have maybe gone larger, obviously. He would have called an overbet too, but I guess mainly he has a hand like queen jack. Maybe a weak ace, maybe even jack 10, you know, that decides to hero here. Queen jack 4, good board for us. You could use different sizes, and the easiest is probably just to go for a small range bet, which I think is what I will do. And ace 4 against such a large 3-bet, I'm never calling. You could 4-bet sometimes, but I think the best option is to just fold. So yeah, going back to the hand with the 9-4 suited here, would, as I said, continue bluffing my gutshot / open enders without hearts. I think that would probably be enough. 6-4, you could opt for a range bet here. You can also just check. It's really the bottom of our range. We have no equity. Just starting with a check and bluffing in the late lines is probably a bit better. With a hand that really has absolutely nothing going for it, unless you know your opponent is. You see, but it's printing. Yeah, because this hand is really so bad. Ace king suited. Hopefully, you can get some action. Not this time. That's the board we were looking for with the ace king suited. Interesting here, multi-way. Obviously, c-betting is fine, but I also don't hate the check back here with a low flush draw. If money goes in here, we're going to be very often dominated and by better flush draws. And also having, if the runner breaks out, having to bluff in a probably stronger range is not that ideal. And also we make some disguised strong hands here, like we do in this case. Where we obviously now just try to go for 2 streets of value. But they both just fold. But I would also have done the same on, like I say, of 3 of spades on the turn here. Going for the late bluff I think is fine. We can just check back, call the turn, bluff the river if they check to us, or, you know, raise if they bet small on a turn like this one, call to then raise the river. So just because you have a flush draw doesn't mean you automatically need to cbet. And let's say we bet the flop, turn comes the 3 of clubs, another break on the river, we bet the turn, bet the river. It's a really annoying spot where, yeah, they could maybe even call us with a king high flush draw. So giving up, we lose to a higher flush draw. Triple barreling on this board, multi-way is probably also not the best idea. So I think checking back is a nice option there with your low flush draws. So let's say a hand like 6-5 of diamonds, for example, or this one. Jack 6 with a limp, you could consider over limping, but it's probably a bit too weak. And ace 8 here, blindy blind, is just gonna be a call. Probably 4-bet more of my lower ace X hands. Good board for the big blind. He should be 3-betting a lot of his offsuit. 9 and 8x hands. We see a small c-bet. Happy to just press call here. We could raise some of my 9x hands alongside bluff, but I think most of my 8x just want to call. So I want to keep his ace highs in. Okay. Hoping to see a check back here from in position. Facing a barrel, this gets already quite close depending on his sizing. You definitely have hands like 7s with the clubs here, 5s with the club here that are better calls facing a large bet on the turn. So we just see a check back. Don't think we can value bet an 8 here, maybe a 9 we could, but I think we have a decent hand to potentially bluff catch or bluff raise. Gonna 3-bet my 10s here, blindy blind. And we see a small bet. Tempted to bluff raise this. Calling is obviously fine too. Saying he has an overpair here. Yeah, I think I will just call. I think my hand works really well as a call. I don't hate bluff raising, but I would probably pick more like a low pocket pair with a club here. And we do just lose against aces. He literally, like, he's only wrapping overpairs a check back on a turn, which aren't too many. But definitely well played by him. We also block aces with our ace of spades. The most likely combination that he's gonna, the most likely overpair that he's going to check back. So I think ace 8 just makes too good of a bluff catcher to check fold here. He never really has a 7. So I think you just have to close your eyes and then press check call here. Remember, he bet so small, he could just have a random ace king, king queen, king jack, with or without a spade that decides to now just bluff for a small price, get us, you know, to forward a hand like ace 3, pocket 4s, some ace jack that we floated on the flop ourselves. So yeah, I think we just have to press call there. A7, I think I like checking back. This is a board where in theory on the turn the big blind should probe only at a very low frequency, but people probably do it way too much, so then checking into the call twice I think is a good strategy. And the plan was to value bet twice on break runouts. Now he gets close. Whether we can value bet this or not. Right in the table I think we have an easy call. And see that he is that short against such a short check. I would have actually preferred to check back, but yeah, obviously now we have the nuts, so we snap him off. And here's queen 10. Unlucky. Cooler for us there. Yeah, I think this is just a check back, but we could consider going for another small bet here, trying to induce something, or go for a very thin value bet. But he will have better ace x hand, and he will also have all the king x and 6x of clubs, which is not great in this situation. And here I wasn't paying too much attention because I was focusing on the a7 hand, but I would have preferred to, like, the 3-bet definitely fine, but on this flop, given that we're that short, I think with a hand like king jack, similar to 7-5, well, bit different, but same idea that if we bet him, we get raised. We could either get jammed or raised and then jammed down on a turn. It's quite annoying because we have to fold a lot of equity in, so just checking back and realizing is better. Right? If we get it in against a nut flush draw, it's really not that great. Afraid that he might overfold, so I'm gonna just check back the aces here. And just realize I think he's better. And cbet with hands that don't mind folding, like ace 5 of hearts, for example. We get a probe on a turn, we're just gonna call, keep our trap, and raise most rivers that are safe. This one isn't the greatest raise, 8-7, it gets there. But now he checks. Important now to go for big sizing. Most opponents will either fold or call here, not really play check raises, and we have a hand that beats all of the hands that only check call, so we definitely want to go for the max. Maybe don't go too greedy. Just an overbet seems like a fine sizing, and probably whether we overbet like this or make it something like this probably doesn't really matter in his eyes. He could have had like missed clubs here, king 4, king 3 with the gutter on the turn, but unfortunately we just get a fold. Now, if he has a hand like 9-8, 9-7, decided to not bet that, or a hand like a6, those hands could definitely call. Then 6, we have a gut shot on the turn. Don't hate going for a barrel here. Could also just check back to bluff the river. But he did just call a small bet on a somewhat dynamic board where previously he was raising his strong hands. If you remember, he was raising the queen 10 where we had the king jack. Let's go back. Right. So it makes me think he is raising his strong hands facing his small bets, even at short SPRs where he could instead just trap. So I think he's gonna be likely to capped on a turn like this one. So I think I want to apply max pressure. But yeah, I think there were some interesting hands. Let's set out the next big blind. Play the last couple of hands. Ace 10 I will be calling, and the ace 9 I'm gonna ISO here. Now I just have a fold. Important spot here to really facing a limp blind, deep blind, just size your hand. Don't, you know, have one sizing for all your ISO range like I would do here. I would always pick the same sizing because there's regulars behind that could potentially pick up on that. At least if you want to be balanced, you can also just go for whatever sizing your hand wants to do. But blind deep blind, because there's nobody left behind you to act, I think it's important to size according to your hand strength, as the fish will usually be quite inelastic and not be able to pick up on what you're doing. Another loose open, but again, I think that's fine. And these large 3-bets, the correct exploit is to just fold against larger 3-bets, against someone who's probably a bit too tight and uses a bit too large of a sizing. It's just to fold more and then 4-bet. And here we just 3-bet getting it in against a 25 big blind stack. Just don't want to shove directly in case this guy wakes up with a hand. I can fold if he now, 4-bets over the top. We get a maybe last interesting hand here. This hand is close. Again, against his sizing is indifferent already. But yeah, let's play 2 3-bet pots for the video with 2 interesting hands. Right hand table, not that interesting. We really have nothing going on with our hand. And a board that I expect a lot of c-bets from him is really good board for him. While on the left hand side table, we definitely have a continue. Yeah, right hand side is just a fold. We could consider raising small here. Or just calling and making the nuts on the turn. And now with a straight, we're never really going to slow play. We're just going for a bet on the turn, and then we're basically all in on the river. He checked quite quickly, which is never too great. He's going to have a lot of check folds here. My reopening range here would probably be like sometimes maybe you could merge in 7s or 8s, but most of the time a king or better. And this is a really good run out for me, but for not so much for our particular hand, because we're just going to get a lot of folds. And now obviously lose to kings of hearts, which is definitely his range. With the super nuts here, with the super straight here, I mean, we obviously are still jamming. We're just hoping he has like kings low played, ace king with a heart, aces with a heart, or maybe pocket sevens, but obviously we're gonna get a lot of folds on this run out. And yeah, apparently we have one more hand on this table going on. Anyway, guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know what you think in the comments. Always curious to hear your thoughts on the hands I played, if you would have played something different. Also, don't forget to like and subscribe if you enjoyed, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye, guys.